everyone experiences painful emotions the same way. It must be taken into account the emotion at hand and the individual's tolerance for pain. We can better understand this dynamic by viewing painful emotions as internal wounds that are much like external physical wounds. Assessing both kinds of pain, we must consider similar factors: the site, size, nature, and the depth of the wound, a person's general frame of mind, how they feel about the particular pain, whether or not they're suffering with other hurt, their ability to tolerate pain, and their previous experience with pain. Let's take these factors one by one and see if the process informs your understanding of painful emotions. The first factor is the nature and depth of wounding or pain. You would probably agree that a slight insult, say not being invited to a dinner party hosted by someone you met once, doesn't hurt nearly as much as not being invited to a close friend's wedding. The closer you are to people and the more you expect from them, the higher the likelihood of feeling deeper hurt. If your sister forgets to call you back because she's feeding her new baby, you probably won't get that bent out of shape. If she neglects to stop by when you're in a hospital, you'll likely be terribly offended. The point is that the nature and depth of emotional wounding is relevant as a predictor to how badly you may feel. Let's take general frame of mind. If you're an upbeat person with whom the glass is usually half full, you'll have an easier time with emotional pain than if you're a gloom and doomer. If you're a positive individual, even when your feelings get hurt, you might think the wounding is unintentional and let it go. If you're more pessimistic, tend to personalize or see yourself as a perpetual victim, you'll zero right in on the pain, making it look larger than it really is. If you're the upbeat type, your spirits will bounce back to normal far more quickly after perceiving injury than someone who believes they live under a black cloud. Some people simply have more buoyancy and emotional resilience than others. Your mindset also makes a difference. If you're convinced that you can't deal with rejection and just know you'll be marooned on an island for the rest of your life if you don't get the job you want, you're setting yourself up for misery. If rejection doesn't bother you as much as guilt, you'll be able to neutralize the sting and move on. It's all in your perspective, the frame you place around the picture. It is important to consider whether you're suffering from one emotional wound or a host of them. If your best friend moves away a week after your house burns down and your dog is put to sleep, you might understandably feel emotionally overwhelmed and that you're about to lose your mind. If your wife walks out, but you have a terrific job and a troop of support, a family and friends, you might believe you'll make it through the night. Even emotionally strong and resourceful people may go under temporarily when many things go wrong at once. Now, let's look at a person's ability to tolerate pain. Scientific studies conclude that the tolerance for both physical and emotional pain depends in a large part on individuals' biochemical makeup, that is, their brain chemistry. Deficits in natural pain soothers, such as serotonin, make you more prone towards depression and anxiety than people who possess the ideal quantity. If your experience has proved you can handle pain, your expectation will be positive, and vice versa. If you're a person with a low pain tolerance, the slightest insult may feel devastating, whereas if you are a person with high pain tolerance, you may be able to shake it off. Lastly, Your history of emotional wounding might affect how you deal with painful emotions. If you've been a victim of severe abuse and/or neglect, or have suffered other trauma, you will almost certainly be more sensitive to emotional wounding than other people, even if you do not realize it. Along with an increased sensitivity, you also might have a decreased physiological capacity to tolerate something, because regular and excessive stress can severely deplete the production of neurotransmitters that regulate emotion. Years of suffering may have heightened your despair and diminished your hope. You may possess a little reserve for comforting or taking care of yourself. Tending to your wounds may be too hard, particularly when old wounds haven't healed before you suffer new ones. You tend to compare yourself to other people even when you try to resist it. Making comparisons in the area of emotional pain is particularly tricky. If you and your friends are taking a glass blowing class and happen to burn yourselves, you could inspect and compare your wounds. When you tell a friend you're severely depressed and he says he is too, you're moving from the concrete to the abstract. Do you both experience exactly the same sensations when you're blue? How do you measure your pain against your friends? Is yours as bad or worse than his? Everyone's pain is subjective, whether physical or emotional. What may be unbearable for you may be tolerable for someone else, or the other way around. In trying to comprehend why people experience emotional wounding differently, it's important not to make judgments or compare yourself with others in a way that makes you feel inadequate or a failure. Everyone starts out at a different place, and we are all limited in part by genetics and our early lives. Although all emotional pain has elements in common, everyone's heartache is unique.